Hey guys, welcome to the Testing Academy. My name is Pramod and welcome to the 30 days API testing challenge. This is a day 16 and today we have a task that if we go to Ministry of Testing, the task is different, but I want you to learn something new. So we have a task. So what I have come up is that we are going to learn more about the Postman tool, which is a tool which we are going to use for API testing, right? And we are going to learn about the variables and environments in Postman. Guys, this is one of the most important concept about the API testing, especially using the Postman. If you know about this, because it's a big concept, but if you try, I'm going to explain you step by step, and I hope you will learn something new today, and you can start your journey towards the API testing mastery, right? All right. So I'm excited to share all the things. All right. So let's get started. Right, guys. So the task, what we are going to learn is that we are going to learn about the variables and environment in this case, right? So first of all, if you are new, we are on a challenge for 30 days API testing challenge. We are mastering, we want to master, we basically are mastering API testing, and these are here, all the tasks are present if you go to this URL. And this is day 16. You will get all the resources that we have. Uh, Basically which are we are going to use here, right? So the two concepts that we are using learning is variables and environments in Postman, right? So in the previous videos, I have explained you about the overview of a Postman tool, how you can basically make a simple get request, post request, put request, right? So now what we are going to do is that we are basically making these requests more generic. Why we want to make them more generic? Because we, for example, we have a different environments that we want to test. For example, we have a staging environments, testing environments, and we have a production environments, right? Those configurations are different and those have a different variables, right? They have a different environment, they have different variables. Now how we can leverage the Postman tool so that a simple we make the our automation or the scripts that we are basically making in Postman one time, and we can change the variable and environment depending upon the requirement, right? So this is one of the ways that we wanted to achieve in this case. So let's get started. So before starting out, let me zoom out a little bit. So before starting out, we need to understand what is a variable and how many types of variable are there in the Postman. I'm going to show you the practical demo. Just bear with me some of the theoretical concepts, right? So first of all, we have a global variable, which is a variable available. You can say most of the time it is available everywhere, right? So if you go about the definition, it's basically they can allow you to access the data between collections, request, test scripts, and environment. So basically, global variables are available everywhere. And if you want, for example, your normal URL variable can be a global variable, right? And second variable is related to the collection. So we're going to see the practical example in this case. So collections, in the previous video, I have explained you about that collections are nothing but a group of API requests. For example, you have a request, right? You have a request of get request. After there is a put request, there is a patch request, and there's a delete request, right? So these are bunch of requests that you have. And right now, what you have done is that you have put this request into a collection, right? So this is a student collection where student can we can fetch the student using a get request. We can create a new student using the post request. We can update the student record by patch or put. We can delete the student basically using the delete for it, right? So that you can basically can combine into a single collection. So let me show you how it's look like. So this is the Postman tool that I have, and in the previous example, we have created a mock, right? So now, so this is a very simple one, basically getting a single user for creating a new student, uh, basically updating a 999 IDs of student, patching, basically editing a small patch, basically just updating the age, name, or anything like this. Where put, we are just replacing the full object, deleting the student, right? So this is a collection overall. So this is a student collection. We can have a GitHub collection. We can have another different collection, right? So this is a particular collection means. So collections also can have their own variables, right? Now, after that, we have an environment variable. So what are the environments? Environments are basically allows you to switch between the different variables, different environments. For example, typically how you can change is that if you see here, this is a drop down, and these are like four, five, three environments that I have created, right? So what do we have in environment is that if you click here, you can add bunch of URLs related to it. For example, you have a staging one environment, staging two environment, and your production. So API requests are pretty much similar, only the variables are different. For example, in staging one, you have a different username and password and a URL. In the staging two, you have a different URL because that contains staging two slash your domain.com slash, and in your production it will be normal your URLs and different variables, right? So you can have a three different variables system, right? So what you can do here is that you can create, for example, you can create a staging environment one where you have your username, password. For example, our staging one username is staging one, username is uname, password is pass, right? Suppose this is the staging one, staging environment that we have created, and we can use these variables in the API request that we are using. So similarly, let me copy here. So I can make, for example, I can have staging two, and where staging two will have a different stage, uh, for example, pass two, right? So similarly, we can have a production environment. So what you can do here is that, for example, I have created a simple get request where we are just changing the URL, right? So if I change this to staging one, if you hover over it, it will change to, as you can see, it will change to initial value stage1.com, right? So now your API requests are becoming very, you can say, very generic. Now what you need to do is that you just need to change the environment. You don't basically change anything in the request, right? Anything in the even in the collection, right? So if I change it to stage 2, it will basically change to the stage 2. And if you are using these variables in your scripts, then definitely all those variables will be changed to the environment. So that's how environment works. It will be basically, they are helpful whenever we want more, we want to basically test it out in a different environments, right? All right. So this is the environments we are basically talking about. So data variables are nothing but the variables which are basically we are going to fetch from a CSV or Excel file. So let me show you a very simple example, and I have an in-depth example of how to use data variable using CSV and Excel in Postman. You can check it out in the video section or playlist section. So I have created a simple collection. So you can create on this, click on this, and I have added a simple request, right? So this is a simple request with the site variable. So right now, what I have done is that, so right now, if you see, site is google.com. How it is google.com? If you hover over it, it's basically telling me that, okay, right now the variable, so any variable in Postman is basically available using the curly bracket and your name of the variable. Okay. So this is a variable that I am using, but how this value is coming google.com. So let's click on edit and see the variable. So this is a collection variable that I have added. So this variable is a site variable which has initial value of google.com. So now right now what is happening is that collection variables are basically getting replaced with this URL, right? Right now we have switched the environment, but since this variable is not available in the environment, it will be going to fetch from the collection. Now suppose you have also added a uh, data variable. So how we can use it is that, for example, if I click on run, right? And what I wanted to do is that I have created a simple CSV file. So let me show you how this looks like. So this CSV file contains a single one where single sites, basically google.com, bing.com, Amazon, Facebook, and scroll test, right? So right now these are the data variables. So now what will happen is that since I have used the curly braces site, so data variable will have a more you can say they will be replaced with the collection because they have a higher preferences, right? So now if I try to run it, it will run 5 times, and it will going to fetch all the data variables from the site, not the collection one. Okay. So if you see here, right? So request URL by google.com, request your bing.com, request your amazon.com, uh, facebook.com, and scrolltest.com, right? So now what happened is that data variables have a more preference than the collection variables. Collection variable has a more preference than the environment variables. Environment variables have a more preference than a global variables, right? So how do you make a global variable? It's very simple. Here I have mentioned. So if you want to create any kind of a global variable, what you can do is that in your test script or even in your pre-scripts, what you can do, you can add using this command, which is basically pm.globals.set, and you can set a variable key, and you can you get this URL. Basically, you need to set it, right? So let me make it like this. You can set using this key. So now you can use this variable like this anywhere you want, right? So global will be available everywhere. And if you want to use this variable, for example, you can set it as a particular username. That, for example, admin is your global username in every kind of environment, every kind of collection, every kind of a data variable, right? So you can use it there. Similarly, if you want to create an environment variable also, you can use get and set method using key and value, right? Similarly, that you have environment variable created here also are key value pairs. So these are again same, right? So let me show you what this diagram is very important one. So globals will have a lowest preference. Why? Because as you know that locals generally have a more preference. So if you have created a local variable, and how you can create it, let me show you, then we'll discuss this diagram. So if you want to create a local variable, you can go to, yeah, for example, in the pre-script section. So pre-scripts are nothing but the scripts which are we are going to run before running this request. For example, if you want to set certain URLs, you want to set certain local variables, that you can use it. So I have created a site URL, a site variable, and this is how you create a local variable. So pm.variable.set URL with the site, right? So right now, if you see, right now, since it is coming from environment, so right now the URL is stage 2, right? So let me run here and see. So right now, as you can see in the canonical URL also, so DuckDuckGo is getting requested, right? Why? Because because local variable have a more preference, right? So local variables, because we have created using the pm dot variable dot set, and we are using it using the curly brackets, right? So local variables will have more preference than the data variables. Data variables will have more preference than collection variables. Collection variables will have more preference than the environment, and the globals will have a least preference, right? So I hope you have understand this thing. So let me show you a simple way how you can learn about it. So let's start with the simple global one. Uh, Here we have created a global one, right? Somewhere. Yeah. So so how do you create a global variable? You can create the global variable anywhere. Basically, the you can create on prescript, or you can uh, create into the test tab. So what is a test tab? Test tab is basically a tab where you will write your test cases, right? So now you can write your global variables. So if you want to set your URL or something like this, then you need to set them into the prescripts. But if you want to set a global variable so that other request can use it somewhere, then you can write it out a test variable. So tests are pretty much similar to post request. After your request is done, before your request is done, pre is pre. So you can create your global variables like this, and you can get it by like this, right? So you can basically use this variable anywhere wherever you want. Similarly, environment variable you can set using this, and uh, get using this. This is collection variables. You can use it using the set method. Right. I know a little bit. I know for you, lots of you guys, it will be very confusing. But in the next videos and all, we are going to create our test cases and pre-request pre-request scripts, and these variables and environment concept will definitely you can get more example over it. Okay, so I hope you have learned something in this video. And one more thing that we need to learn here is that, right. So there is a concept of dynamic variables. So what you can do is that, for example, if you have want to use a timestamp, you can use dollar curly braces. If you do it, you can have more suggestions. There are like couple of more variables available. They are dynamic in nature. For example, if you want to generate UID timestamp, if you want to append somewhere, if you want to add it into header, anywhere you want. For example, you can add here also if you want to do it. Let me add a new value and here. So you can add UID even on the headers. You can add it to body, pre-script, test, anywhere you want, right? So the that you can add. Similarly, we have random UIDs, timestamp, and there are like lots of different dynamic variables. You can go to this URL and learn more about it, right? So I hope you have learned something. And in the environment, I have already told you why we need it is because we have different environments. For example, staging one, staging two, and production. And how to use them? You can use them by using a creating variables, right? You can use it a simple method, which is using a manage environment, or if you want to use it in pre-request or test, you can use it by using a this basically writing pm.environment.get and set, right? All right. So I hope you have learned something new in this video, and variables and environments is very important with the Postman. And in the upcoming videos, we are going to write when we are going to write the pre-request script and test cases, we are going to use these extensively, these variables and environment, probably in the next video. I'm going to explain you everything uh, about these variables, and when you are going to comfortable with these variables, definitely you can start making your API automation, guys, and using Postman. So you will see that, okay, whatever the APIs that you have, you can create those APIs with different environments, different variables, and you can basically make them work like a chain. For example, if get request has a this response, then this request should be sent or not, or if this request should be sent or not. This is called a chaining of the request that we are going to achieve everything that we can achieve. But before that, we need to understand the concept of variables and environment, right? I hope you have learned something new. I know if it is confusing, I would recommend you to go to Postman site and read about it. But in the upcoming video, definitely with the practical example, I'm coming up where you will learn more about it. Okay, all the resources available in the URL that I have already mentioned you. You can play around with it. And thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next video where we are going to learn, basically, we are going to master the API testing, and we are in a 30 days API testing challenge. And if you have learned something, if you have any kind of a doubt, comment down below. I will be happy to help you in that case. All right. Uh, Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.